Well, the following goes under the heading that leadership does make a difference, and not everything bad is all bad. A lot of times when things happen, you can think that it's the end of the world, but in reality, there's a lot of great things that happen through various transitions. And in that regard, back many years ago, when I was National Sales Director, we were purchased by Bristol Squibb. I was the National Sales Director, and Bill Kindberg was the Vice President of Sales. And certainly for me, being part of DuPont for many years in the pharmaceutical division and being part of building out the Sestiva team as a regional manager and becoming a national sales director was really fantastic. And about 9 months into that role, we were purchased by Bristol Squibb. So on the surface, not really great news. Obviously, I'm not going to be national sales director much longer because, again, given the purchase, there's already a vice president within the Bristol Myers structure, with Bill Kindberg, as well as the structure of regional managers. But certainly for me, it was some disappointment for sure. At the same time, I liked the customers. I liked the team that I was part of for a good number of years as part of the launch of Sestiva in HIV and virology. And thought for the long run, it'd be good to just stay open-minded. At the same time, transitions are never easy, right? Whenever there's purchases or transitions, there can be a lot of side conversations that may not be that credible. And essentially, people fill in the blanks where there's not ideal communication. But to the credit of Bill Kindberg, who was the Vice President of Sales for Bristol Myers Squibb at the time, he was very transparent. He was one of those kind of people that in engaging you could quickly build trust, because as many people always say, don't listen to what I say, watch what I do. And Bill had a long legacy at Bristol Myers Squibb, and in a short period of time during the transition, a lot of different communications and meetings and things of that nature, that credibility really shined through. And I think also he's really a great communicator and trying to stay out in front on various issues and just making sure that no matter what concerns were out there amidst the transitions, that those issues were being addressed. And like anything else, the more people see certain issues being noted and then addressed and actions being taken, it puts people at greater ease. So all said and done, it was, for the most part, a pretty darn good transition between the Bristol Myers Squibb virology franchise as well as DuPont Pharmaceuticals. And at the end of the day, you can choose to be part of a problem and you could move on, sure, fair enough. But in this case, in the spirit of being open-minded, I think Bill Kindberg really, given who he is and how he led, really created a great deal of equity from myself as well as the broader DuPont Pharmaceuticals team in transitioning over, in which essentially I became a regional manager, which, sure, wasn't the national sales director, but at the end of the day, again, really liked working for him, which I'll address a little bit further as well. But again, back to customers, back to team, all those reasons why I was in this specialty in that part of the division to begin with were good reasons to stay and make that transition. But I think in thinking back to Bill Kindberg as a leader, while I didn't have him long, I was with DuPont Pharmaceuticals all those years, and Bill grew up through Bristol Myers, the legacy, if you will. He really did a great job around people development. I think even during these times, people talk about people development, but it was really the cornerstone of who Bill Kindberg was. It wasn't about what you were doing today, and it wasn't picking away at what you could get better at. It was just more to the point of having really good conversations of how you can continue to accent the good things you do, while at the same time, here's a couple things based upon good, transparent feedback as far as ways you could, improve, if you will. And so, really strong culture, if you will, of that coaching and developing people, which, again, given his long legacy at DuPont, with the DuPont transition as well as his time at Bristol Myers Squibb, really had a great impact on me and many other people and certainly a great culture of support. And one of those kinds of people that, as you can appreciate, in any senior role, even as a vice president, you can be in a situation where while you're vice president, you have a lot of different people like myself and others that are out there in any organization. There are always the people above you that are having conversation on a routine basis. And I think Bill did a phenomenal job of really ensuring that we as teams stayed focused and out of any, how would I put it, any distractions that potentially could take place, given any conversations that may take place between himself and any senior management situation. But nonetheless, I think it's a good example where over the course of your time, you really have some really great reflections in terms of the leaders that really did have an great impact on yourself, a broader team, and certainly an organization. So with that, again, leadership does make a difference, and not everything bad is all bad. And even in my case, just in capping this conversation off, after being a regional manager at Bristol Squibb, I was ultimately afforded the opportunity to build out the hepatitis B franchise team from a sales standpoint from scratch. So with that, have a great rest of the week.